Okay, next I want to deal with the minor 1, flat 7, flat 6. This is this chord combo, and you could, in any shape or form, 1 to flat 6 to flat 7, or oppositely, works very well, and it's very popular and extremely common in popular music, and in other styles as well. I mean, it's not like it popular rock have been the only people to use this. It's been in film scores, whatever. So I'm going to try to give a little bit to everybody who's wanting to use this kind of progression, whether you just want to say simple or use it in an advanced way with continuous modulation. So this is it's just these 3 chords, okay? Now remember, this is A minor. Sometimes people, and you could, and the order you do it in doesn't matter, but the 1 chord, people often mistake this as like the 6th chord but it's not in C. This is A natural minor. If you could hum out your tonal center, that's where it is in most cases. So just remember, it's not a 6-5-4. So the sound is very common. People probably know this sound very well. And I'm just kind of improvising on it. But using a bunch of different techniques like non-chord tones, inversions, and whatnot. But the thing is, I don't really favor one key. Let's just use the same progression. I'll modulate, use the same progression again. Modulate again. Same progression. This is a good skill to have. For composers, this is a really good skill to have, and improvisers. And I'm not a keyboard player either. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'm going to just stay here. But favoring one key and never actually learning the others seems kind of detrimental to progress, in my honest opinion, especially if you want to become an advanced musician. So, I'm a guitar player too, but I prefer to know these things on both the keyboard and notation as, completely. And so a little easy exercise to memorize all possible keys, just use a circle of fists in a counterclockwise direction. And I wrote it out for you. A simple exercise that you could do is just 1, 7, 6. Use that as your pivot point. 1, 7, 6. D minor, G minor, 1, 7, 6, C minor, 1, 7, 6, F minor. You might have to change octaves, 1, 7. Otherwise, you'll just keep rising. 1, 7, 6, and B flat minor, E flat minor, 1, 7, 6, and then G sharp minor or A flat minor, whatever you want to call it, 7, 6, C sharp minor. 1, 7. I change octaves again. F sharp minor, 1, 7, 6. B minor, 1, 7, 6. E minor, 1, 7, 6. Now it just go back to A minor. Okay. So knowing it in every key is important. Just a thing to note, and just something you may want to use, is opposite motion like that, where the things kind of expand away from each other or in towards each other. It sounds better than this kind of parallelism kind of move. If I did that exercise like that, it just sounds better to do opposite motion. Okay, it's just expanding out from itself. So just a little tip. I mean, you don't have to do it that way. It just sounds better to me. So this kind of opposite motion is just kind of a cool trick you can learn. So it makes this thing sound a little more independent. So we could use that same formula below and just use it as continuous, a wandering method. If I do it a little bit more musically like this, sorry, it's hard to talk. And sometimes, you know, when you're doing chains and stuff like that, it's good to break out of them. So I use that same exact thing below to wander a little bit. And when I got to the point in the chain where I had the C minor, I used that as a pivot chord to get to G major as like a borrowed minor 4. So let's just stay in A minor for now. Really simple thing you could do is just kind of pulse on like this pedal tone. 7, 6. This is like that Hans Zimmer Interstellar kind of style. Or you can use it in rock, stuff like this. It's pop, whatever. So pedal pointing something and using 1, 7, 6. So let's try to use inversions. 1 with the 3rd in the bass. 7 with the 5th in the bass, 6 root position. Do something like that, and you could do it musically. Really simple ideas like this. So let's use that formula below again and create a wandering sequence using that exact same inversion setup. Okay. Implied 6, 1, D minor, implied 6 there, G minor, 6 with a suspension, now break out somehow. Okay, I used a couple of borrowed chords that would be in G major again, just like we did last time. So we use that same formula yet again. We did the, 1 first inversion, 7 second inversion, implied 6. Okay, just did the same thing on D minor. Did the same thing on G minor. Just did kind of like a suspension on the 6 of G minor. Now I'm treating this more like it's borrowed chords of G major. So basically using like a traditional functional harmony method to break out, and you don't have to know what that is. That's okay. It's everybody's different. We could do stuff like this. 1 with a flat 7. This is going to give us a totally different sound. 7 sus2, and then a 6 with the 9, and then the major 7th. So you could do some kind of sequence like this. I don't know. Just play it kind of like this. Very common method to execute it. So that's the way to use this stuff with instead of using just basic triads, you could use stuff like that. Let's use that modulation sequence below and use this same exact setup. 7 sus2, 6, 9, 1, flat 7, 7 sus2, 6, 9, and just keep repeating it in the order of. I'm going to stop there, but you could use it like that as a continuous modulation sequence, the same thing. So, and again, the order doesn't matter. So, and again, I would recommend learning this in every key too. These 3 chords, the combos, because you never know when you have to modulate or use them or transpose something. So that's a good reason, very good reason there. And one more thing, that's what I wrote down below is not the only way to pivot. If I go to the 6 chord, that's also the 4 chord of C Dorian, and then we could just use the same combination again once we're on the C chord. We could use this as a 5 chord to C sharp minor. Okay. And then 1, 7, 6. So let me just, the 6th chord is the 4th chord of C Dorian, but instead now is C minor. That's the A flat is also G sharp, so you could go to C sharp minor. Okay. Let me play it musically to where it makes sense. Pivot. Pivot to C sharp minor. Now I'm going to break out of it. Okay, so remember there's more than one way to use the same chord sequence and pivot in a completely different direction. And I've got a series on this chord neutrality. I should probably link that in here. That deals with this very aspect if you want to learn how to modulate in as many ways as possible. That's a good series to take a look at. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Just remember, do whatever you prefer to do. So, but I would actually still recommend, no matter what your level of musicianship is, to learn everything in every key, because it makes things so much easier when it comes to creation, transposition. Even for improvisers, if you know how to simply just jump from one to the other, that's a fantastic skill. So don't rely on just one key or a transpose button.